Hey everyone, Jim Branscombe here, and welcome to At the Movies. This is a sub-series of the Cinematheque vlog where I talk about the various movies I program in any given month. I did one of these back in March and meant to be doing them all the months in between then and now, and just haven't. But decided to pick it up and try again because I'm quite proud of the lineup I have, specifically the Los Feliz 3 lineup that I have for November here in 2025, if you end up watching this after fact. But basically, this series is just me talking about the films I'm programming, primarily at the three venues I'm working out of, which are the Los Feliz 3 in Los Feliz, Los Angeles, California, the Frida Cinema down in Santa Ana, California, and Killer Fitness up in Burbank. And because the Los Feliz 3 is a reoccurring weekly residency, I always start with that, and then I'll talk about the little one-off ones from there. So why don't we get into what I'm showing at the Los Feliz 3. So for the month of November 2025, I usually do a theme for my Los Feliz 3 residency. So every Monday at 7 p.m. I show a movie and somehow they're interconnected. I usually like to do themes or that kind of stuff. But for this month, I went with the movies focused around a particular actor. That actor is Oliver Reed, and the series is called Heavy Reading. There's a couple things that I really wanted to show. I'm sure people are like, hey, why aren't you playing the Devils? Well, there's a long history of why I'm not screening the Devils, but hopefully someday that will change. And there's a movie I really wanted to show, which was Revolver, which is one of my favorite Italian crime movies, which almost had in the series, but the rights didn't get cleared in time, so I ended up pushing that to February for the Void 10th anniversary year, because it's one of my favorite movies. If you've ever seen the Cinematheque Void intro video that plays before the screenings, or used to play in front of a lot of the YouTube virtual screenings, there's a clip of Revolver in there. So part of 2026 for the 10-year anniversaries, I'm going to try to screen the last few movies that are featured in that intro that I haven't shown yet, and Revolver's one of them. But for this Oliver Reed series, I picked a bunch of genre-based favorites. And starting on November 3rd, I'm showing David Cronenberg's The Brood.
David Cronenberg's ultimate experience in inner terror, starring Oliver Reed and Samantha Eggar. The Brood. They're waiting for you.
Which is probably really my favorite David Cronenberg movie. I think it's between that and Videodrome, but I just like The Brood a little bit more. And incidentally enough, it's also actor Oliver Reed's one of his favorite movies he did. He said The Brood was the best script he had read since The Devils, which is pretty high praise. And if you haven't seen it, Reed plays this kind of psychotherapist that has this peculiar way of getting out, the internal trauma and rage that person has. And with one particular woman, played by Samantha Eggar, her rage manifests into these little dwarf-like creatures that put on snowsuits and go on a killing spree. So this is a really, really terrific movie. It's kind of beyond, it's a little bit of an exploitation movie, but it's also kind of what Cronenberg did best, which was walk the line between the art house and the grindhouse, and this is a perfect example of that. This is also the first movie that Cronenberg got Howard Shore to do a score for one of his movies, and they had a long time collaboration after that. And I don't know, it's a really terrific movie. We're showing this on 35mm. The print is coming from the TIFF reference library. TIFF is the Toronto International Film Festival. They have an archive of film prints, and this is one of them. This is a newer struck print, so it's going to look beautiful. It won't be faded, because Brood came out in '79, and any original prints would probably have what we call the Eastman fade. Those are the red-pink prints, but this one's going to look pretty good. And really stoked to be showing The Brood, one of my favorite Cronenberg movies and one of my favorite Oliver Reed performances. Up next on the Heavy Reading series on the 10th of November is a movie called Burnt Offerings. This is directed by Dan Curtis, who's best known for creating the TV show Dark Shadows. The film stars Oliver Reed, Karen Black, Betty Davis, Burgess Meredith, and it's about like a family that moves into this they don't know it's haunted, but take one look at it, it's clearly haunted. This old mansion where they get the deal of a lifetime, and usually when you get the deal of a lifetime, there's something really wrong with it. This movie is really, really bonkers. Reed just kind of goes for it. Karen Black just kind of goes for it. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty wild. I'm going to be showing this on a rare Fuji 35mm print, original print from the 70s. For those of you who don't know the difference in film stocks, Fuji doesn't fade like the Eastman did in the 70s, so it won't be pink. It'll probably maybe a little bit of a purple tinge, but it'll look pretty good and have most of its color. This is a real treat. I've planned on doing a haunted house series off and on the last nearly 10 years of doing Cinematic Void, and this was always one of the movies I wanted to show. And I figured, you know, if I'm doing this Oliver Reed series, might as well show Burnt Offerings. On November 17th at the Los Feliz 3, I'm going to be showing one of the most insane movies that's ever been conceived, not because of the premise of the movie, but just because of the combination of actors they put in the same room. I'm talking about 1981's Venom, which stars Oliver Reed, obviously, because this is part of the heavy reading series, and Klaus Kinski, who, gee, I wonder if Klaus and Oliver got along. Of course they didn't. Of course they were terrors on the set and to each other. This movie was directed by Piers Haggard, who directed Blood on Stained Claw, but he wasn't the original director. Toby Hooper of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame was the original director. He shot a little bit of the movie and then got fired because he couldn't really handle the chaos between Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski. The movie also stars Sterling Hayden, who most of you will recognize from Dr. Strangelove or The Killing, and Susan George, who gives what I can only consider a Oscar-worthy performance in this movie. I can't tell you why it's Oscar-worthy, but once you see it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that it's a tour de force in a ridiculous killer snake movie that involves a group of people trying to kidnap a kid, and the kid's a reptile collector, and he accidentally gets sent a black mamba, the most poisonous snake on earth, and you know, hijinks ensues. I'm really excited to watch this with a crowd because it's just absolutely bonkers. It's, you know, it's got something for everyone. And closing out the heavy reading series on the 24th of November is The Curse of the Werewolf. This is a Hammer horror classic directed by Terrence Fisher, who also did Curse of Frankenstein and The Horror Dracula. And, you know, it's got Oliver Reed playing the titular werewolf. And there's been plenty of jokes like, oh, you know, where Oliver Reed didn't need the prosthetics to look like a werewolf. He kind of always does. But, like, no, it's a good-looking werewolf. It is very vicious. And, like, you know, Oliver Reed was perfect for the 60s incarnation of the Wolfman. This is another 35mm print coming from Universal Studios. But Oliver Reed is one of my favorites because he's an absolute madman when he's on camera. And, you know, not only is he an actor's actor, he's just a maniac's maniac. And now I'm going to close out by talking about these one-off screenings that I'm going to be doing in the month of November. The first one is at the Frida Cinema, is on November 14th, and is the U.S. premiere of a brand new 4K restoration of John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. The movie stars Sam Neill, Julie Carmen. It's very H.P. Lovecraft meets Stephen King, and for those who haven't seen it, basically a famous, what they call hack author called Sutter Kane has disappeared, and you know, something he's done is kind of unleashed these unspeakable Lovecraftian style evils. And it's a really great movie. I actually showed this in 2018, I think, for a series I called New England Nightmares. I had Julie Carmen and Sandy King Carpenter, the producer of the movie, come out for that screening. And really, really honored to be able to do this 4K restoration. I've been doing a lot of Carpenter adjacent stuff this year. I got to moderate a Q&A with John Carpenter and Larry Franco for The Fog. And then I got to moderate another Q&A for Big Trouble in Little China with Carpenter and DP Dean Cundy. So it's been a full-year Carpenter. And I also went to see John Carpenter perform live at the Belasco in LA. So been a lot of John Carpenter, and I'm going to continue with a lot of John Carpenter for 2025. And the last screening I'm going to be talking about for November 2025 is over at Killer Fitness. Killer Fitness is a horror-centric, body-positive workout space where they do aerobics, they do all kinds of like classes, and they also screen movies and they sell horror-related merchandise. And the movie I'll be screening isn't a horror movie per se, but it fits in the aerobics aesthetic of the place, which is Heavenly Bodies from 1984. This is one of the great Canadian exploitation movies. It's directed by Lawrence Dane, who only directed this movie, but he was a bit of an actor in a lot of Canadian productions. You can see him in Scanners as well as Happy Birthday to Me. The movie stars Cynthia Dale, who plays a single mom who gives up everything to start a dream of opening her own aerobics gym. And then the big corporate gym tries to come in and, you know, run her out of town. So she has to do a non-stop aerobics workout, and whoever's the last person standing gets to keep the gym. So it's a feel-good story. It has a killer soundtrack. The Bonnie Pointer songs in this movie are just absolutely killer, and I think it's kind of the appropriate thing you show at a aerobics workout place / screening space is, you know, Heavenly Bodies. And also want to give a shout out to my friend Phil Blankenship over in New Beverly, because this is his all-time favorite movie. I feel kind of weird screening it because it's so entrenched with Phil, but like I love this movie, and like I think Phil will be the first one to tell you, like, you know, more screenings of Heavenly Bodies, and I'm happy to be one of those people that are pushing this movie out there. So that's going to wrap up At the Movies. Tell me what you think. You know, what's your favorite movie I'm going to be screening for the month of November? Sound off in the comments, and hopefully I'll be more consistent and do more of these if you're into it. And hopefully I'll also be doing some more vlogs around the way. But until next time, see you in the void.